Oh, good evening, everyone. So today I'd like to give a presentation on harvesting, storing, and retrieving of data. So basically, today we are going to focus on strategies to deploy the big data and the technology in the form, big data technology in the form. So Oh, so yes. So today we are going to look at the critical aspects of the firm as it is really very important for the organization to look into these all things to achieve any particular goal. So me as a chief data officer of a public listed company, it is really significantly important to focus on the statistical goals which could lead the company in a proper direction. So the major responsibility of an executive officer is to be a dynamic in work and style, where he or she can extend the technical aspects rigorously. So the big data is a giant collection of information whose real value comes from your ability to use the stored information to uncover new insights with big data analytics and then present those ideas to promote better business decisions. So the major technical aspects through big data technology helps to execute the business solutions is like choosing the right method to access your data, discover hidden connections in your data, uh, giving everyone the access to the big data, seeing the whole story that lives in your data and more. So we picturize the whole thing and visualize everything beforehand, before working on that particular data. So the so we are here to look the needs of the big data. So the first step is working with your key stakeholders to understand your organization's special needs. So usually too often the people will declare like we need this kind of a data, we need the better data, we want the clean data, some demands for the structured data, some demands for the semi-structured data which they could manage. So some needs the Hadoop cluster. So we need more business intelligence and we need a dashboard. We need the visualization on and all. So so to take over these all things, so we translate into the need of straightforward process in the business mind. So I need that I can analyze, that I can share without getting mired in the process. So it's really a core essential of what most organizations need and want. So I think before starting with anything, every organization need to have some questions. So you can start by asking to draw out what your organization needs. So the first can be like, what products or solutions are you using today to deliver analysis to the stakeholders? What do you use these products for today? What analysis reports or data would like to have that you don't have today? So but these kind of things and the steps as a fun part, but it's so exciting to hear what gets people enthusiastic about the analytics. So it's really very important the organizations to focus on these kind of critical aspects. So the major critical aspects of the firm should be discovery, data preparation, model planning, model building, communicate results, operationalize. So we create the particular departments which can completely dedicate to the specific task, as we see a lot of data generating in the modern times which has worth value more than expected terms. The assigned team is supposed to follow some fundamental concepts of the data management with the overview of data analytics lifecycle, so which covers this discovery, data preparation with model planning, model building, communicate result, and operationalize cycle. So basically, so the discovery is about data discovery, and the formation is the first phase of the data cycle, where everything begins with the defined goal. In this phase, you'll define your data's purpose and how to achieve it by the time you reach the end of the data analytics life cycle. So in the initial stage consists of mapping out the potential use and requirement of data, such as where the information is coming from. So Basically, as a data analysis expert, you'll need to focus on the enterprise requirements related to the data rather than the data itself. So essential activities in this phase include structuring the business problems in the form of analytics challenge and formulating the initial hypothesis to test and start learning the data. The subsequent phase are then based on achieving the goal that is drawn in this stage. And coming to the data preparation and processing, so this stage consists of everything that has anything to do with the data. So in this phase, the um, data preparation and processing step involves collecting, processing, and cleansing the data. One of the essential parts of the phase is to make sure that the data you need is actually available to you for processing. So data is collected using some of the methods like data acquisition, data entry, signal reception. So in the data acquisition, accumulating information from external sources, like formulating recent data points using the digital systems or manual systems, and capturing the information from digital devices such as control system and Internet of the Things. Um, so yes, so the turning to the next step, that is model planning. So in the model planning, um, the business goals and is to collect the glut of the data that is structured as semi-structured or unstructured data. It is time to build a model that utilizes the data to achieve the goal. So there are several techniques available to load the data into the system and start studying it, like example like ETL, ELT, ETLT. So ETL is the extract, transform, and load. ELT is extract, load, and transform, and ETLT is extract, transform, load, transform. So these are the mixtures. It has two transformation levels. So ELT transforms the data first using a set of business rules before loading it into a sandbox, and ELT first loads raw data into the sandbox and then transform it. And ETLT is a mixture, like it has a two transformation levels. So this step also includes the teamwork to determine the methods, techniques, the workflow to build the model in this particular phase. So coming up to the model building, so in this step of the data analytics architecture, this comprises developing data sets for testing, training, and production purpose. So here, the data analytics experts meticulously build and operate the model that they had designed in the previous step. So they rely on tools and several techniques like decision trees, regressions, so, and a lot of different things like logistic regression, and different models. So the experts also perform a trial run of the model to observe if the model actually corresponds to the data set or not. So coming to the uh, results, uh, communication, and publication. So the major part is to remember the goal you had to set for your business in phase one. Now, so in this, the communication step starts with the collaboration with major stakeholders to determine if the project results are a success or failure. The project team is required to identify the key findings of the analysis, measure the business value associated with the result, and produce a narrative to summarize and convey the results to the stakeholders. So these are the effective things that we need to follow, and required things are necessary to follow and build a particular program. So we can this critical aspects defines that it is a circular process that consists of six basic stages, which are really actually necessary for any business goal to achieve. So however, the ambiguity is having a standard set of phases for data analytics architecture does plague data experts in working with the information. So these are the basic steps which we need to follow. And stepping to the next, so talking about the life cycle of the data analytics, uh, it's a layout of the framework for the best practice, from the genesis of the project to the completion of the project. So the framework establishes after, like, a survey of a data scientists that make up the data science team. So some of the approaches like scientific method, CRISP, DM, Delta framework, applied information economics approach, math skills. So these are the important steps to be taken up. Uh, and data pre-processing. So in this process, uh, in this process, so um, we are prepared pre-processing the data. So we have uploaded the data set in the open refine tool to verify the data in columns like state names and zip codes which are correct or incorrect. So in this open refine tool, while using the cluster of the data set, it is concluded like no, there shouldn't be any typo errors, or like, so like we could find some errors in the zip codes have 4 digits instead of the five, which will be evaluated. So the open refine tool is very much necessary and required to rectify the errors in the data set and clean the errors and remove the errors. So uh, So in the data set, so the company collected the customer ID, the sale amount of transaction, the zip code, and the state where the transaction occurs, and all other related data about the sales record. So it is really very important for to recheck and cross check, whether there is a comma, hyphen, and what exactly needed. So the comma is used to separate in the CSV file. So therefore the existence of comma in the values are the attributes, so like a product name, which may cause the problem when some query is run on the data set. So in the data analytics, data must be pre-processed before being used. So in this data set, it is about the company which runs its business in all the United States. So we have to, it covers all like different attributes like customers, consumers, corporate, and home office. So firstly, we need to clean the data set by replacing the commas with the hyphen in a product name column, and use the Excel tool to cleanse the data. Use the substitute function. If you could see, um, we have worked on this particularly. So substitute function which can replace the comma with the hyphen, and with this function we specify the number of instance, so we get to know how many times we are replacing the comma with the hyphen, and create a separate column to the product name. So if the student, if the data officer is cleaning their data set in the Excel, then he or she need to process the needs, which includes the following steps like importing the data set back into the CSV file, format file, into the Excel, and then pre-process the data set according to your using the Excel, and export the clean data set into the CSV format as required. So here, the person or the student also have to check the typo errors. The student is required to use the open refine to perform the check. So if any error were found, could use any correct tool to correct. In this pre-processing of data, so we have uploaded the data set in open refine tool, where it verifies the columns like state names, zip codes, which are correct or incorrect. So you can see the steps over here. Mm, the first step, second step, this gives the real-time clarity about sales record, how it is clean. And you can check over here. So we have added the column based on zip codes, where we have just wrote a code saying that the value of the zip code should be at least of minimum 5 digits. So if there is any of the 4 digit number, so it automatically adds the zero before the four number, so it again becomes the 5 digit zip code. So this gives the clarity and makes it a proper data, proper clean data. So here with that, we like clean the data set of the sales records, clean data set in the CSV, CSV file format. So coming up to the Apache Hadoop ecosystem, um, Apache Hadoop ecosystem here, uh, it is really important to upload. Here it is really important to, so yeah, so turning to the Apache Hadoop ecosystem with the Hive, so it is assumed that the CVP, Senior Vice President of the Business Strategy, wants to design a new business strategy based on the business insights, based on the business insights that can be extracted from the collected data set. So it is also assumed that the student, uh, his or her senior assistant, so the um, like it is assumed that it is being asked by the student to provide the following pieces of information, like the top 5 states where the company has the most number of customers, and the top 10 zip code areas where the company gets the best sale amount. So that is the highest sale figure. So based on the knowledge and the skills that the student, the officer has, so according to those things, so we have to pull the whole specific data as it is required. So before starting with anything, we have to follow some of the codes, some of the command lines to work in the Linux. So the using the basic Linux command lines such as like who am I, pwd, mkdir, cd, ls minus space minus l. So this gives the specific details, and these are the command lines which create the directories and files. Like who am I tells you about what is your username, and pwd shows your home name, and ls shows about your directories, number of directories present there in that specific field. So here you can check the, so if once we get into the Hadoop Apache system, so they're typing with hdfs dfs minus ls backslash, so we can find three items, so that is Hadoop, temp, and user. So in this, we could find our name. So by checking in the user, so after digging into the user, stepping in the user, so we can find one more item, that is our username. So with that, we can just check like in the in the Hadoop. So we have how many numbers of items, and as we can just subcategorize those. So we have categorized the username handmacu under the user, and then the data under the username, and then the sales record under the data. So we are just um, creating the directories in specific fields, and then we come out and we try to we try to upload the files in the Apache Hadoop, and run the command lines, so the respective command lines. So if you see here, so for making any of the directory, we have to type hdfs in the Apache Hadoop is hdfs minus mkdir space backslash username handmaku. So you have to make the directory by mkdir, and if you wanted to delete the directory, then or remove the directory, you have to type instead of mkdir, you have to type rmdir space rmdir. And if you wanted to check the status of it, so you have to type minus ls instead of mkdir. So here it so the Hive command, a Hive command line interface, Beeline has been started and connected to the Hive server too. So here we can check the top 5 states where the company has the greatest number of customers, and the top 10 zip code areas where the company gets the best sale amounts, that is the highest sale figure. So in this we are using the Hive. So typing the code beeline minus u jdbc hive 2 semicolon backslash local host. So local host semicolon 10,000. So here you get the results, and once you type the show table, so it shows you about the web logs, the attributes, the number of attributes, and there you can type the code. So you can see here that top 5 states, that is California, New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Washington, and number of customers, that is like in 2001 in California, and 1128 in New York, and 985 in Texas, 587 in Pennsylvania, and 506 in Washington. At the same way, so these are the 5 rows selected, and which is completed in 22.509 seconds. And coming to the zip code, so it has selected the top 10 zip code areas where the company get the best sale amount. So here you can see the zip codes and the total sales of those respective places. And this task is completed in 1.819. So coming up to Apache Hadoop ecosystem with the Spark, so the top 5 stages where the company has the greatest number of customers. So here we have to type the Spark and SQL. So here you can check the weblog. So if you've typed the same code here, so here you can get the task, and even here it says the same thing. uh, the California has you 2001, New York has 1128, and Texas has 985, Pennsylvania has 587, and Washington has 506. So this task is done in 13.37 seconds. So in this Spark, so compared to Hive, it is a little bit faster. Talking about the next step, the top 10 zip code areas where the company gets the best sale amount, that is the highest sale figure. So even so in this, uh, so it is just done in 13 point. So the task is completed. The task is completed in 13.372 seconds, the top 5, and the second query is completed in 5.76 seconds. So in comparison, we can conclude this, that the performance wise, Spark is a little bit faster compared to the Hive. So when I ran both the below queries, for the first query it nearly took 22.509 seconds for the Hive, and for the second query it nearly took like 1.89 seconds for the Hive. And for the first query of the Spark was Spark took 13.372 seconds, and for the second query, it took me around 5.76 seconds for the Spark SQL to get the results as shown below. So yeah, so this can this with this we can conclude that Spark is faster and quicker than compared to the Hive. As we have followed the same regular steps for both the process, this gives the clarity that it is a little bit faster. And from the above executions, we realize that as it's quicker in execution compared to Hive and MapReduce. So both Hive, MapReduce, and Spark SQL utilize the Hive metastore to comprehend the design of the information. Yet Hive MapReduce changes over SQL inquiry into Hadoop MapReduce occupations run by Hadoop MapReduce to get the results. Hence, in my opinion, this change influences the speed and execution of Hive MapReduce, where Spark SQL works faster as it does the faster calculations and changes individually. So, in conclusion, I believe that it is clear that there is a gap between the speed and performance of Hive with the Spark. So, as there is a high difference between the first query of the Hive and the first query of the Spark, and same with the second query of the Hive and the second query of the Spark. So in a whole, like between the speed and execution of the Spark and Hive MapReduce, so Hive MapReduce changes over SQL question into Hadoop MapReduce occupations, which run by Hadoop MapReduce to get the inquiry results. Those Spark measure the information within memory calculations changes without anyone else. But Hive MapReduce and Spark SQL use Hive Metastore to comprehend the design of the information. So, with this all observation and the operation we can conclude that Spark is faster than compared to the Hive. So this shows that Spark is real and quicker than compared to Hive. So I'd be as a data officer would prefer to use the Spark over the Hive, as it gives me a quicker time and the best results, and exactly as same as the Hive results. So I believe that as it gives the exact accuracy, so I'd be preferring the Spark as a CDO, as a chief data officer. Yes, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for everything.